Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. I'm Morris, a little bit late in the day, but sometimes real life gets in the way, so don't hold that against me, it happens to all of us. Got about 6 albums to go through though, so I say we go through them as quickly as we can do. We begin with the band I've grown a fondness for in the past few years, 2 Minute Minor and their new album Come Carry Us Home. This one actually dropped back in July. These are a band from Chicago. I don't really list places anymore, but there you go. They're a hardcore punk leaning band with some really good punk rock elements. I'm giving this one a B+. I really do like these guys. This is a very fast punk rock album, as you would probably expect from the band. There's a really good cover of Fortunate Son, which I quite like. But yeah, the album is inspired heavily by the fact that the band members recently fathers, or at least the lead singer is, because the last song is titled Carry Home. It's a lullaby that he sings to his son, which is actually adorable. And yeah, I don't know, I quite like that. Obviously, the instrumentals are still very fast and very heavy, very punchy. Lyrically wise, it does, again, good for things like fatherhood and depression and mental anxiety, and not something you often hear in hardcore punk. You're usually used to the political stuff, and there is still some of that, but 2 Minute Minor have never really stuck to that, and I've always appreciated that about them. The performances are really great as well. Wiley Willis, the lead singer, does an absolutely fucking fantastic job, as do the rest of the band. Production-wise is probably where it falls apart a little bit. It feels not as well put together in terms of presentation as previous albums, but it doesn't suffer too hardly from it, and it does often have a very organic feel, maybe a little bit too much. I don't know if that's anything. Structurally wise, there's only 8 songs. It's not an overly long album either. But then again, that's kind of what I expect from 2 Minute Minor. They don't put out super long epic albums, but they do put together some really good fun punk stuff. So if you want some really good fun hardcore punk, I recommend giving this one a spin. I quite enjoyed a lot of it. Next, we have As Friends Rust and their new album, Any Joy. So this is a band that's been around in the American sort of more melodic hardcore scene for a while now. I think this is their first album in like 22 years or something, like after a slew of like EPs over the past decade roughly. Giving this one a B+ as well. I think it's, in terms of like songwriting, it's probably a little bit better than Come Carry Us Home, but yeah, it's definitely produced a lot better, I will say that for it. It's got some really good songwriting. I really love a lot of the riff work as well. I do feel like it, in terms of lyricism, it can feel a bit like, I don't know, it feels like a bit too backhanded in some of its ways. It feels a bit cynical in some cases, but I guess that's just something the band has always done, or at least they did 22 years ago. I feel like the world of punk has changed since then, but it's still a really good album. The members are really good at what they do. There's some really solid bass work on this album, which I quite like in my punk. Production wise, really good, really clean, very fresh feeling. Makes a lot of the details pop, which I do quite like. Structurally wise, not super unique. There's only like 7 songs on this one. A few of them are fairly long, but they do again reach their point quite well, and they're carried really nicely by solid construction and crafting and really good riff work, so hence the B+ grade I'm giving it. Really good stuff, especially if you like a band who's sort of been around a little bit longer, even though again this is their first release in about 2 decades. I recommend giving it a spin if you haven't caught up on As Friends Rust. It's really good stuff. Next we have City and Colour with his new album, I guess the term would be, The Love Still Held Me Near. Now City and Colour is the solo project by Dallas Green, who I best know for his work in Alexisonfire, although I have heard of City and Colour, and obviously when Alexisonfire went around he did put a lot more work into that while they were gone. I'm giving this one a B+ as well. Like, Dallas Green is just a great vocalist, a really good guitarist too. It is mostly sort of like an acoustic rock album, that's kind of it, but it does have really good guitar work to it. There's even some nice swelling in some of the production. I don't know where that comes from, but it's done really well. Dallas, I think he produced the album himself, I might be wrong about that. Again, his vocals are just fucking phenomenal. He is so good, and he always has been. I mean, I knew he was good, but like, I think with Alexisonfire's last album and now with this, it just proves how much he's fucking ascended as a vocalist. He's so good at conveying emotion. His performance is great. Lyrically wise, it does cover things like love and loss, and the loss of love, and the sort of like depression and things that can come with it. It's got some really solid songwriting. Oh no, songwriting to it. Songwriting, Jesus. I think production-wise, it's fairly clean, organic. Sorry for my hair. And god damn it. And structurally-wise, there we go. It is a little bit long. It's over 50 minutes thereabouts, and it does sometimes take time to really get to the juicy stuff, but when it does get there, it hits it really hard. So yeah, if you're even vaguely interested in City and Colour, I don't think this will be anything new for him. Like, this is the first time I've heard a City and Colour album, much like with As From Us, it's the first time I've heard an album of them, so, but with them I have more of an excuse, because, you know, again, that's their first in about 20 years. But if you're familiar with City and Colour, I don't think this will be anything new for you. For my first City and Colour album, I feel like I could have done a lot worse. It's really good acoustic rock, emotional feeling stuff. If you like feeling your feelings, this is a good album with which to feel your feelings with. Next we have Landowner and their new album Escape the Compound, and this one also came back in July. I don't know why I'm really saying when these albums came out, one round since I listened to them last weekend. This is more of a post-punk leaning project. It's a bloody interesting one, to say the least. It gets the lowest grade of the episode though, but it's only a B, so, you know, small potatoes really. So I'm trying to figure out ways to fully convey how I feel about this album, right? Even when I wrote the review for it on Discord, I don't think I could fully convey how I feel about it. In terms of riff work, it's very weirdly, like, nervy and jerky, but in an interesting and sort of fun way. The bass work is especially a standout. Like, I just love how light it sounds on this one, but not like you can barely hear it, because in the production you definitely can. Like, the mix on this thing is actually really, really good. Lyrically wise, I think is the weirdest part for me though, because it feels like some sort of concept album, and the main theme is like manipulative, charismatic cultist assholes, you know, used as a good like benchmark and metaphor for things like political shit and greed and so on. Ow, that was my arm snapping. I don't know if not snapping, my elbow cracking, the joint. I don't know if that'll pick up, but that'll stay in. Yeah, it's a very interesting album in terms of lyricism. In terms of production, also quite interesting. That's the best thing I could say about the album. It's interesting. It's not the most unique post-punk album I've heard. I think structurally wise, it does meander quite a bit, and it does repeat at points. I've gone over the riffs. Performances are really good. I will admit, like, the lead singer definitely has a really good voice for this sort of thing. I like how unprocessed he sounds, especially. It's just something that adds to an album for me when it comes to that stuff. Yeah, interesting album to say. I really can't think of any other way to describe it. I thought it would be my least favourite album, but then I listened back to it and I'm like, actually no, there's something here. There's something delightfully, like, off the cuff and weird about this one. Like, a little bit irreverent in places. I do feel like it contains itself a bit too much, but yeah, I still recommend you give it a spin. It's an interesting and unique post-punk listening experience. Not like the post-punk I'm used to, especially not the post-punk concept albums I'm used to. God, what was the name of that one band that did that song, that did that album where there were songs about alien penises? Yeah, that album was bad, but this album's good, so you should go listen to it. Next, we have another band that's been around for a bloody while. We have Mustard Plug and their new album of Where Did All My Friends Go. Now, this is a fittingly titled one, considering that it came out 9 years after their last full length. You know me, I don't get EPs or live albums or any of that shit. I'm giving this one an A. I really enjoyed a lot of this. It's a very good bit of ska punk. I think all of these have been sort of, well, almost all of them have been punk related. I know the next one is sort of punk related. Yeah, no, this is really good shit. It's got really nice handling of the brass instrumentals. I like the guitar work a lot. I do wish there were more solos, but the ones that we do get are actually quite nicely handled. Lyrically wise, the main theme is about trying to move on from the past, wondering where all your friends have gone and where they will go. And, you know, just trying to stick to the friends that you have. There's some really good performances as well. The lead singer is absolutely great as well. I think the standout for me goes to the bassist, because again, I like it when I can hear good bass in my punk, and in this album you can really get that. Production wise, really good too. I love how clean it all feels. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a tiny bit too polished at times, but what you do get out of it is handled really, really nicely. And again, there's nice attention to detail, which is what you need in modern day ska punk, I think. You know, it's something that Streetlight Manifesto always did really, really well, even on their lesser, better produced albums, I guess you could say. I don't want to say worst produced albums, because all their albums are pretty fucking great. Even Keysby Nights might be their best produced work, even though it's my least favourite album by them. But yeah, this is, we're not talking about Streetlight Manifesto, although, God, I love Streetlight Manifesto, but Mustard Plug, really good. Yeah, really good production, organic, very clean feeling. I've said that for every fucking album today. I'm not adding anything new, am I? I really like how it sounds. It's got good attention to detail with the brass instrumentals, with the guitar work, with the drums, with the bass. Lyrically, was I gone over that? Riff-wise, I think I've gone over it. Yeah, structurally wise, it can does tiny repetitive things, little repetitive things, and doesn't have a super great flow, but it is structured interestingly enough, and it does just have a very fun and enjoyable vibe to it. So if you're into that when it comes to ska punk, I can recommend giving this one a go. And finally, we have Pain of Truth with their debut album, Not Through Blood. So this is a hardcore punk band, and this is also getting the highest grade I can possibly give, which is an A+. I really fucking like this one. In terms of instrumentals, it's fucking crushing and heavy, yes, but it actually does do interesting things with the pacing, which lend quite nicely to the structure, and the breakdowns on this thing fucking go in. There's almost some deathcore leans with some of the breakdowns, which I'm all fucking for, honestly. I like it when... I do like my hardcore punk to have melody, but I also like it if it doesn't have enough melody to do it fucking well, and this is what Pain of Truth really do. They understand it. They just have the fucking attitude about them, which I love. They just know exactly what they're doing and what they want to achieve. I think in terms of... I've already gone structurally wise, and yeah, riff wise is great. Again, bass work, really fucking good. Lyrically wise, it is about sort of sticking to your own, and there's a lot of fucking features on this album, by the way. My favourite album is the closing title track featuring Brendan Garone from Incendiary and someone from a different band. I don't remember the name, but the name will be on screen. Yeah, no, performance-wise, fucking great. Like, the band are great. The guest stars are all fucking great, too. Production-wise, very... I just love how fucking big it sounds in terms of production, and it does not skimp on any of the detailing either. It is such a well-polished album, but without sounding clean at all, and I fucking love that. It is perfectly done. Lyrically wise, yeah, no, I've sort of already gone over that. It's about like sticking to your friends and sticking to your family, sticking to, you know, who you see as your family, basically. Just saying, you know, if you come after one of us, you come after all of us. I do have a fondness for that kind of way of thinking when it comes to the hardcore punk community. I say with this voice, I'm trying to think of something I haven't gone over. Riffs are fucking great. I love guitar work, I love the bass. I've gone over lyrics, I've gone over performances, sort of glossed over them. My structure-wise is really fucking good too. I just love the heavy pacing, I love the breakdowns on this thing. I love how it builds, and I love how much it fucking pays off at just the right moments. It is such a deliberately paced album, and very intelligently thought out for a debut hardcore punk album. I'm going to check out these guys again. The next time that they drop anything, I'm fucking being there for it. This is really good shit. And that will about do it. I don't know why I'm clapping so much for this episode of Music of the Week. I will do the ranking system before I forget. So, at the bottom would be Landdown with Escape the Compound. Then, As Friends Rust with Any Joy. Then 2 Minute Miner with Come Carry Us Home. Then City in Colour with The Love Still Held Me Near. Then Must Plug with Where Did All My Friends Go. And then finally Pain of Truth with Not Through Blood. But, as always, go and listen to all of these yourself and formulate your own opinions. That's what makes this shit that we do. That's what makes this life that we live interesting. And I will see you all tomorrow night for PBW vs AVW The Halfway Show. I really need to sort out a card and also to ask a friend for a Lego that I can make partial employment, because that's in a couple of weeks. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I will see you all tomorrow for a wrestling show. So, yeah, as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.